Marshall Pruett, Robin Miller, RACER.com. You read us, you hate us, you like us, we don't know, we're not sure. First day of practice is over at Watkins Glen. I got 7 layers of clothing on. He's from San Francisco. He needs he's a man.
I have nature's insulation.
Yes, you do. You have nature's insulation. So, what did we learn in day 1, brother, other than the fact that Scott Dixon's still fairly fast?
Scott Dixon is insane. We saw Graham Rahal go fastest this morning. Hondas were 1 through 5, very impressive there. Wondered what we would see this afternoon. Ambient temperature came up a little bit, Robin, not crazy, but track temperature was good. Air was still a bit cool. That helped us to make some really good horsepower. We saw Dixon go out and turn a 122.6 on blacks. It was ridiculous. Will Power, I believe, was a 23.4 or so on blacks. Once he went on to reds, he got within a 1/10 of Dixon, but had to go to reds to get that close to Dixon. When Dixie went out on reds, he actually didn't go any faster. So
interesting.
I think they have some work to do there on reds.
Graham was 3rd in the afternoon. Was he reds, blacks? You remember?
I believe that was on reds.
Yeah.
We did see, though, that, again, looking at the combo of both types of tires, we did get some Chevy movement towards the front. So tomorrow's going to be interesting in qualifying.
Because it's so cold. The ambient temperature was 60 degrees when the second session started. And this morning it had to be 55.
It was about 50 or so.
50 or so.
Again, I know 50 doesn't sound that cold. There was a little bit of the wind itself is what made things really chilly. So everybody here has jackets and multiple layers. Came off for a little bit during that second session. But yeah, kind of unpredictable. You speak with a lot of teams. They've been chasing the weather a little bit. Sebastian Bourdais, Ed Jones, they're bog slow. Not exactly sure why. There's some others who are fast. They don't know exactly why, but they're very happy that they are. So.
And
I like this stuff, though, because instead of coming in and saying, great, it's going to be kind of formulaic. We know who's going to do well, who's going to be fast, who's slow. So far, at least, a little hard to pinpoint who's where.
And the great thing is, 90% chance of rain on Sunday, so throw all this other stuff out. Then it becomes who's good on the wets.
We also had Max Chilton, our first crasher of the weekend. Spun exiting the bus stop. Didn't do a huge amount of damage, but definitely added a few corners worth of turning, trying to hold on to the thing. So had a red flag there for a little bit. He was okay, came out of the car, was just fine. Not so when it comes to the pit stop practice that came afterwards. I think that might need to be an overnight Robin Miller short commentary, because that didn't work out the way it should.
The mechanics have been saying ever since this thing started, we're going to hurt somebody with all this pit stop practice. They don't need practice. There's 7 people in the grandstands. Who are they practicing for? Who are they putting on a show for? 10,000 people on the internet? Who cares? It's not worth the price of somebody's life. And the fueler for Carlos Munoz got steamrolled, broke some toes. So he's the first casualty of the pit stop practice, but it's a waste of time.
So, beyond that, if we look at some of the news that's developing.
News?
I know. But other than fake news, there's been a lot of fake news this week, apparently. That's what I read on the internet, at least. We've had a couple of people confirmed. Don't know if you heard about that. Had some other interesting conversations, but why don't you kick that off on who all has been confirmed, who's staying where? Or do you even know about any of that?
The great thing is, so we write a story last Saturday that Sato's going to Rahal. And everybody said, no, that's not going to happen. And then Monday we write a story that said Rossi and Michael Andretti's team's going to stay with Honda, and nobody says anything. So all those things have been, Sato hadn't been confirmed except by Michael Andretti, who was mad that Sato left him. So he confirmed that. Now, this leaves us to, okay, there's still a lot of crazy things going on. James Hinchcliffe needs a teammate.
Needs a fast teammate too, and we're hoping to talk to Hinch a little bit more about that. He's had a teammate the last couple of years at Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports, Robin. Don't know if you could say they've really elevated the team. It's been a little bit like 2 single-car teams. I know what Hinch wants is a proper 2-car team, 2 badass drivers that can elevate them, make them an even bigger and more powerful program. So he's on the lookout there. Had hoped he'd been working on getting Rossi there. That was the plan. That fell through, and so now it's a question of who's available and who would be ready to step in. He has some ideas, but we'll wait until he tells us himself who those guys are.
Well, the other thing is you wrote a story about this young man the other day. Chip Ganassi could be down to 2 cars next year. Scott Dixon, who still didn't have a sponsor, and the number 10 NTT Data car, as Marshall wrote about.
Brendan Hartley is looking like someone who could be in there. Keep hearing he is definitely someone that Honda has been pushing hard. We know that the Ganassi team thinks a lot about him. He's driven for them once before. This is sports cars, but the Ganassi folks, if they get a chance, they like to get to know people before they work with them seriously. At least we've seen that a couple times recently. But Brendan Hartley, Kiwi, who with Dixon would be an all-Kiwi team, but don't know if that's going to happen for sure, but we keep hearing there's something there. I've heard there could be an answer as to whether Brendan's a go or no-go there, on or maybe just before Sonoma, so we'll see. But the other thing Chip said is he'd be fine going to 2 cars, kind of getting rid of the, I don't want to try and be polite here, but instead of adding a 3rd car, a 4th car with folks who are paying for the opportunity, he's at least told you he'd be open to the idea of just having 2 guys that are, he pays, he wants, they're killers, and go get it. So he's already got one in Scott Dixon. Could the second be Hartley, maybe someone else? Who knows?
Yeah, I think for sure if he was available, it'd be Felix Rosenquist, but he can't get out of his contract, right? Yeah. Okay, so then let's go. So maybe Ganassi only needs to fill 1 seat. So Max Chilton is either going to go somewhere or possibly start his own team. Maybe with Carlin, we hope, Trevor Carlin. But I asked Max last week, I said, sports cars or Indy cars? He goes, I want to stay in the Indy car. I want to drive Indy cars. Charlie Kimball's got a little bit of sponsorship, not nearly what he's had the last 7 or 8 years, but having a little sponsorship can still get you a ride in this paddock.
I had a great conversation with Dale Coyne very recently where I said, well, this guy has about half a budget, that guy had, and he stopped me and said, you're talking about everybody. I mean, realistically, just about every single guy walking around, whether they're a veteran, a rookie, you name it, has about half a budget. So the Dale Coynes of the world are accustomed to folks coming in with $3 million when he really wants or needs 6, maybe even 7. We know that he is, at least we hear, he's leaning more towards sticking with Ed Jones, so we're hoping that will happen.
Good.
Sebastian Bourdais is already on a 2-year deal, so he'll be there back next year. So, but yeah, your point though is there are a lot of guys that can get you halfway there. It really takes a Michael Andretti, a Chip Ganassi, a Coyne, and many others to decide, can they find the budget? Do they have a sponsor who might kick in? That's where some of this horse trading is going on. That's why we're not hearing a bunch of guys being confirmed right away, because they only have half of what's needed. Now the team needs to go find the other half to make it happen.
And we just interviewed Tony Kanaan, a RACER exclusive you'll want to watch. Honda still wants Tony Kanaan in the series, and he's got a couple offers, and he's I think we can say possibly Andretti, possibly Schmidt Peterson Motorsports, possibly AJ Foyt. Well, we should know more by the time we get to Sonoma about him. But then we hope Spencer Pigot has a chance. You spoke to Ed Carpenter.
We said we've heard Spencer might be converted to a full-time role next year with Ed Carpenter Racing. Ed didn't say yes. Ed didn't say no. That's not Ed's character, which we didn't expect him to answer. But hearing something a little more positive when I spoke to Spencer, I think earlier this week, maybe late last week, said there hadn't been any news on whether he, more likely to come back or not. So it sounds like there might have been a little bit of movement, but what does that mean for our boy Jared Hildebrand? There's a lot of pieces still to fill. I mean, look, we know where Rossi's going, staying where he is. We know where Sato's going. We know, there's been some movement. We can absolutely say done deal, job done. But there's still lots where you go, I have no idea. But that's kind of the fun.
Well, it is a fun, and it's been, the Michael Andretti thing was fun. It gave people, drivers cared as much as we did. We got messages every day, hey, what's going on? What do you think this guy's going to do? So the fans liked it. It kept IndyCar in the headlines, it kept IndyCar in the news for the people to care about it for almost a month. And that was, I think it served its purpose. And I think Michael was pretty honest with us most of the time that he hadn't made up his mind. But I don't know what he was looking for. Maybe Honda would be his leverage to get more money out of Chevy, or Chevy was his leverage to get more money out of Honda. Who knows? But that team is, as this man wrote a story today, could have 5 cars next year.
Spoke with Rob Edwards, their chief operating officer, good guy. Said it is something they've spoken about. It is an active interest of theirs, but obviously for them it's going to depend on someone showing up that is skilled and has money. But I then said, well, so you want to go to 5 cars? Have you had the kind of reception that lead you to believe you could? It's one thing to state an interest, another thing to go, hey, we've got people knocking on the door. He said, we've got a lot of interest. So We could have some contraction team-wise. Could Chip go from 4 cars to 2? Penske from 4 cars to 3? We could add one here or there. Just saying that if you hear about someone trying to expand to 5 cars, for example, from 4, we're still doing this numbers game. We got a lot of people we're asking right now, Robin, what's the car count going to be? 21, 22, 23?
18, 19?
Yeah, so anytime you hear someone saying we want to and we're getting some good reaction, cautiously optimistic.
Last but not least, Anthony Joseph Foyt. We know ABC loves Connor Daly. He had his best race of the year. He finished 5th last week at Gateway. I think he might be safe. I don't know about Munoz, and I know that they're talking to people. So there's lots of conversations going on right now, probably while we're doing this video, about what can you bring me, what can we do. But most of these guys have to have some money.
Absolutely have to have some money. Foyt's in a unique position, though, as he's one of the few teams left where it actually pays drivers.
Right.
So even though they've had a mostly horrible season, you still have a lot of people. I spoke with one driver today who said he was heading down there to talk because, you know, he'd like to be with them. And you know, based on results, you would say that makes no sense. But A, things can only go up, and B, it is an actual paycheck.
Yeah, and ABC is the longest running sponsor in IndyCar. And the best. All right, he's got to go put all this stuff in the. He actually edits these things, believe it or not. Takes out all the bad swear words and stuff. Makes us look handsome.
You have no idea what we said earlier.
You have no idea. And there'll be some stories up in a little while on RACER.com. We appreciate you guys watching and reading, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll talk to you tomorrow.